share screen. I am, look at that. Awesome. Can you give me a thumbs up if everyone can see my slides? It's clear, it's good? Yeah? Okay, awesome. I always have to check because sometimes Zoom gets a little wonky. But 1 second. Anyways, everyone, thank you and hello. Thank you again to the ASAP Network of Networks for inviting me to present to you guys today. Again, my name is Alex Warneke, and I'm the Deputy Director of the Climate Science Alliance. Just as a brief little overview of today's presentation, I'm going to talk a little bit about the Alliance and our model, how we've implemented this model on the ground, and then I'll finish up with a few tips and maybe a group activity on how we have successfully garnered stakeholder feedback. And the reason I want to put that out there is because over the last couple of calls, that seemed to be something that people are interested in, just kind of brainstorming. So we'll do that. It seemed like an area of interest. So with that, let's get started. Get the clicker, there it is. So who are we? Well, the Climate Science Alliance is a network, hence why we're here, of leaders, scientists, managers, and community groups across Southern California, Baja, and beyond. In 2014, we came together. That feels like so long ago now, but it really isn't that long ago. But we came together because there was a number of scientists and natural resource entities working to address significant climate impacts in the South Coast. But those people weren't always able to connect. And more importantly, the science and management decisions were not reaching the communities that were most affected by the climate impacts. So we fast forward to today, and we have over 340 partnering organizations under the Alliance umbrella, working to formulate strategies and solutions that will help safeguard our human and natural communities against the threats of climate change. Now, the power of the Alliance really lies in our ability to focus our efforts on boundary-spanning projects or cross-sectoral projects, however you want to define that, and share our skills, expertise, and knowledge in order to bridge the gap between research and application within the community. We have 3 primary tenets or pillars to our organization. So we have building resilience, which you'll see in orange, that's our science-focused partnerships, building capacity in blue, and that's things such as like workshops, summits, training the trainers, that kind of thing. And most importantly, building community in green, where we develop programs that allow us to bring our community along with us in this conversation. So throughout all of our projects, we put our model into action. We work at the intersection, so that little Venn diagram spot in the center, building where our boundary spanning projects lie, where we translate, we support, and we disseminate climate science and adaptation projects in our region. Now, the easiest way to really explain our model is to walk you through it with a specific project. So this example that I'm going to be sharing with you guys today is what we call the San Diego County Ecosystems Assessment, the ecological impacts of climate change in a biodiversity hotspot. This is one of the regional assessments for the 4th California Climate Assessment. And this example demonstrates multiple ways we both worked with the network to fill in the knowledge gaps, translate science to various audiences, and work to help individuals see themselves as part of the solution. Again, this is part of the 4th California Climate Assessment. So essentially what we did is the Climate Science Alliance led a team of both ecologists and climatologists to conduct a review of the most current regionally specific climate information and pair that with current research on local species and habitats of the South Coast that are at risk due to climate variation and other stressors. This assessment findings proved to be very helpful in identifying what climate change looked like in our region specifically by using local downscale data. And as a snapshot, since I know that there's people from all over on this call, this is what climate change looks like in our part of the world. So we have things like daily temperature ranges becoming more extreme, wildfires is basically the story of California. We're not on fire yet, but I feel like it's coming. Precipitation will become more extreme with prolonged drought followed by intense floods. We looked also at connectivity. And the last thing that was really focused on in this report is the marine layer, which we get here on the South Coast and all through the coast. And what we find that it provides relief during hot, dry summers. So it provides relief from all these other things, but we don't know how climate is going to affect it. So, we'll have to see how that turns out. This report connected these climate impacts and the power of it to the local species and ecosystems in which we're living in. Now, from the onset of this effort, all participants made an intentional effort to consider how the results of this assessment would play out across different jurisdictional boundaries within the study region, and how to present the science in a way that would be most accessible to inform natural resource planning, decision-making, and management. So since the technical report was about over 100 pages, most people are not going to necessarily read it. I can't even say that I read the whole thing. So we distilled the information into a summary guide, what we like to call the Reader's Digest version, as an easily accessible resource for practitioners. This is kind of what the inside looks like, Introduction to San Diego Climate Ecosystems. And I'd like to give a special shout out to our creative programs manager, Diane Terry, who always makes us look good. She helped me design this PowerPoint, so she makes science look cute, and I love it. And so the URL for this ecosystems assessment can be found at the bottom, and I can also have it sent out after this. So from this report, assessment authors discuss findings with attendees of the inaugural San Diego Climate Summit, which brought together 200 regional environmental leaders for an in-depth discussion and look at climate science and related issues, while providing a forum to discuss San Diego's regional resiliency, built environment, and rich biodiversity. We are now in our third year of the San Diego Climate Summit, which, thanks to Corona Island, we've had to adapt. We were actually 2 weeks out from the summit when we had to cancel it. So we'll now be hosting the San Diego Summit, the 2020 Summit, virtually on August 27th, which is awesome because that means you guys can all come if you're interested. So if you want to, just let me know and I can send you the information. It's gonna be awesome. So now that you guys have both seen this project through the first two parts of the Alliance model, right? We went through building resilience, where we kind of gathered the science, those science-focused partnerships, and building capacity. We trained a lot of people on how to look at this data and talked with the scientists, had the scientists talk to the community. We get to my favorite part and really the heart of the Alliance, the power of our network, and that's building community. Our building community initiatives have two primary programs. We have an art and community initiative and a climate kids initiative. With art and community, we sponsor a climate art fellow every summer to connect with and translate scientific work that we are doing. We connect them directly to the scientist. As our first climate art fellow, the work that you see here, this is just a subset of it, was done by an artist, a young artist, 18 years old when she did this, Audrey Carver. And this represents the summer she spent with the Alliance team and partners, touring the ecosystem in this region and gaining insight, inspiration for her project to translate the findings of that ecosystems assessment. Her full series, which is called The Faces of Change, illustrates climate impacts. So there's a panel for each impact. Here we have the marine layer and wildfire. And it looks at not only the impacts on key species from each chapter, but also adds a portrait of each member of the community most affected, both natural and human. So you can see that here. And with the marine layer, the one on the left, we had the youth representing the hope, right? Because the marine layer is actually what's giving us hope in this region from climate impacts. So we then created a webpage and pocket guide specifically for the public to learn about the findings of the ecosystem assessment. So the pocket guides you see on the left, they actually like fold out and it has all the assessment findings on one side, and then these kind of 10 things you can do to give wildlife a break on the other side. And what we wanted this kind of to do is to give people actionable items. So like once they read this report, like what does this mean as a community member? What are the things you can do? And because we were, it's really focused on wildlife and ecosystems, we're like, these are the things you can do to give wildlife a break. So once they read the science, they can feel part of the solution. These are translated. We're in the south coast of San Diego, so very close to our binational partners, so in Spanish as well. And we actually delivered them to every single public library in the system, and they were gone within 2 weeks. So it was pretty cool to see them integrated so quickly. This was done literally like a week after the report was published. So that was kind of the power of our model. Last but not least, the project findings have been translated into a regional impacts curriculum or module for our Climate Kids program. Climate Kids is our K through 12 and community initiative that uses science, art, and storytelling to inspire the next generation of environmental stewards. Youth of all ages can learn about climate impacts to their home through fun, engaging, and relevant activities. We don't necessarily talk about polar bears, we talk about gnat catchers, because that's something that they might actually have reference for here in San Diego. I'm proud to say that this curriculum was actually released at the same time as the report itself. So that's cool, direct science translation. And our Climate Kids program has connected with over 100,000 students in the years that we've been since 2014. And that is through really the power of the Alliance network and integrating climate through the network itself, or climate education through the network itself. So that's kind of our model in a nice, easy to understand project, San Diego County Ecosystems Assessment. And that again was published in 2018, but we've been pretty busy ever since. Running different projects through the same model. So I just want to kind of give you a feel for some of the different things that we do. So here's a photo from our Doudna project. This is actually where I met Amanda on the call, on the ASAP call right now. So that's where we became best friends, you know. So with this project, Doudna stands for Descendants United for Nature, Adaptation, and Sustainability. This is based in Puerto Rico. It's a project that weaves together cultural, ecological, and community values to really lay the groundwork for resilience in this region. So essentially we're working with communities on the ground, as you can see in this picture, to help them learn how to rebuild coastal dunes that were devastated by hurricanes Maria and Irma, and working with them to really give them the tools to help themselves, right? To help develop community messaging, to restore the dunes, and really learn about the importance of dunes in protecting these natural ecosystems. The thing I really love about this project, I'm not sure if she's in the picture. Oh yeah, she is, in the blue shirt right here. This is Dr. Isabel Rivera-Collazo. She is an archaeologist and the head PI on this project. So not only is there a huge natural resource component of protecting dunes and protecting communities, but the dunes are protecting a lot of cultural artifacts. And so we actually got this grant because it had that interdisciplinary component where if we protect the dunes, we protect cultural heritage, or at least give ourselves enough time to collect the data to understand cultural heritage as they relate to this region. So it's a pretty cool multidisciplinary project. And then another project that we've been working on, and this infographic kind of describes a little bit, is a boundary expanding approach called the Connecting Wildlands and Communities Project. The CWC project, as we call it, is a collaboration with San Diego State University that explores how connected landscapes can support adaptation and resilience to climate change for both ecosystems and local communities in Southern California. And we have within this the lens of wildfire, water, biodiversity, and planning. So how those things kind of integrate, and looking at this really wildlife urban landscape. So that's a cool project. This will actually be the highlight of our next summit. So if you're interested in something like this, let me know and we'll get you signed up. And after our inaugural summit in 2018 that I shared earlier, we had another successful in convening, I think, let me take this picture out. Oh, here we go. I don't know what happened there. Sorry about that. But we had another successful convening in 2019 that focused on the San Diego regional report of the 4th California assessment. And currently, again, like I said, we're gearing up for the 2020 San Diego Climate Summit. So I hope you guys can join us. The theme of that summit is going to be climate hope, and what are the kind of projects that are going on in our region that are working, right? And I think a lot of times we kind of get down, like everything's blowing up, everything's dying, nothing's working. I don't think I have to tell you guys that there's lots of things that are working. So we want to make sure our community is in the know there. Another convening we're proud to co-host with our 19 tribal nations in the Southwest, or in Southern California, in San Diego, is the Southwestern Tribal Climate Change Summit. The success of this summit, along with numerous other projects and convening, stems from the guidance and leadership of our tribal working group, a group that we convened of natural resource practitioners, tribal resource practitioners, and they kind of help drive our workings with the tribes in this region. So ultimately, the driving force behind our model and all that we do, translating, supporting, and disseminating, is climate hope. And this is woven through each of our projects and events. At last year's Southwestern Tribal Climate Change Summit, our partner, Anne-Marie Chischilli from the Institute of Tribal Environmental Professionals really said it best in her plenary by saying, we've all heard about climate change, but today we're here to talk about climate hope. And that is truly what I think makes the Alliance so successful, our hope in our communities, and knowing that we can do more together than we could ever do apart, which is something I think is shared in this group. That's why we're all here on the Zoom call, that we are really stronger together, and that our work naturally spans boundaries of all sorts, because that's where we have found resilience together. So before I end, I kind of wanted to have a fun talk or a little like brainstorm sesh on stakeholder engagement strategies, because this is something that we deal a lot with. So for us, we have a variety of stakeholders: scientists, resource managers, educators, tribal members, the gambit, and things that we've done that we've found pretty successful in terms of, it just depends on the audience, right? I think, as you guys might know, different types of facilitated dialogue techniques, listening groups. I personally love 3x5 card surveys, where I give everyone a 3x5 card and they tell me their inputs, whether it be like a challenge you're dealing with on one side, or a climate win, that's my favorite one, on the other side. We also do things called like feedback walkabouts. I don't know about you guys, but I love sticky notes. Like I have an infatuation, all different kinds of sticky notes, big ones, little ones, and so anytime I can use sticky notes to get stakeholder feedback and engagement, it's really good for me. And so what I wanted to do as a group, and before I switch it over, I wanted to give you guys my information just so you guys had it. My email, warneke@climatesciencealliance.org. You can find us at climatesciencealliance.org or climatekids.org. Not the NASA Climate Kids. We got the URL first, so we're cooler. Just kidding. We're all doing good work. And you can find us on Instagram at Climate Science Alliance or at CSA in Action. But before we kind of go to questions, I wanted to put it to the group. Let me put it in the chat. I'm going to unshare my screen real quick. Has anyone here used Jamboard before?